What's good? It's Woog. So we now know who Canelo's opponent is. You know, I didn't do a video with the different headlines that were coming out. I was tempted to, very tempted to, when they were saying, you know, Canelo versus Terence Crawford in September is off and Canelo's going to be fighting Jake Paul. I thought that it was interesting and I was definitely paying attention, but I held off on reporting anything like it was anywhere near official, just because I wanted to see an official announcement. I knew that, you know, Ring, for instance, was the one reporting it. And I'm thinking, like, with Turki Al-Sheikh having just purchased the Ring, why would the Ring be so quick to make an announcement like Canelo versus Crawford is off, and Boxing Scene and Coppinger, ESPN, like nobody else is really picking up on this or reporting it? Like, a Canelo versus Jake Paul fight and Canelo versus Terence Crawford falling apart would make Turki Al-Sheikh's plans look like they didn't work out. It would make Turki kind of look bad, right? So I'm thinking it's his publication that's giving us this report, and none of the other most credible publications are repeating it. So you know, props to Boxing Scene for kind of sitting back. Yes, they were reporting, like, you know, that Eddie Hearn says that Canelo versus Jake Paul would be a huge fight and everything like that. Like, but aside from that, they never reported anything like it was anywhere near official. So me seeing that Boxing Scene was reluctant or at least holding off on posting anything near official for Canelo, I kind of sat back and did the same. Like, I could have done some videos that was like speculating, like, what if, and we could get into those conversations. What if Canelo was going to fight Jake Paul? But it looks like not only is Canelo versus Terence Crawford very much on for September, but now we actually have who Canelo's next opponent in May is going to be. It's William Scull, the person who just won the one belt that Canelo was stripped, the IBF belt. William Scull just beat Vladimir Shishkin in a pretty close fight that, you know, I hadn't seen a ton of William Scull before that, but I was impressed by his, you know, kind of ambush style, standing on the outside, and then kind of jumping in with pretty fast, aggressive looking, accurate shots and beating Shishkin to the punch in a lot of these exchanges. This was a unanimous decision. And yes, Shishkin's team was threatening to pursue like some legal action and trying to get the ruling overturned, but I wasn't mad at that decision. I thought that a draw might have been warranted. I thought that William Scull definitely won most of the early rounds. I thought Shishkin started to do better in the second half of the fight, but William Scull, he's not a bum, right? He's not your proverbial bum. Does he have any chance at hell at beating Canelo? Look, I think that he could frustrate Canelo. I think that he could maybe win more rounds versus Canelo than Berlanga or Munguia could, maybe. But I don't think he's got enough firepower to keep Canelo's respect. I mean, Canelo is very economical. Now, Canelo doesn't throw as many punches as Vladimir Shishkin, but I just have a tough time picturing William Scull moving around the ring, standing on the outside, and then waiting for Canelo to, you know, to throw a punch so that Scull could counter that and Scull counter that effectively. These guys might be waiting for each other for a lot of the early rounds because they're both pretty patient and they both look for counter punching opportunities. I just don't see Canelo, you know, coming in with his patient hunting style, high guard, throwing a jab, and then Scull having a lot of success countering that without Canelo then countering that. It's just tough for me to envision that, but I could see William Scull frustrating Canelo for stretches of this fight. But yeah, that is going to be Canelo's next opponent, and this is also an opportunity for Canelo to get that fourth belt back so that when he does fight Terence Crawford in September, and I am curious to see if Terence Crawford is going to take a fight in the interim. Crawford hasn't fought since last August when he fought Madrimov in a very competitive fight. I was actually in attendance at that fight in Los Angeles, but I'm curious to see if Crawford takes another fight. But yeah, Canelo here has the opportunity to scoop up the IBF belt. So if or when, whatever you think, I mean, if William Scull pulls off the upset, then all bets are off. That would be the upset of the decade. But if Canelo beats William Scull, then he will have all belts, so that Canelo versus Terence Crawford should, if it's truly at 168, everything's on the up and up, no catch weight. If it's a 168 fight, truly, then that should be a battle for undisputed, which just kind of sweetens the deal a little bit. Not that it would be an unattractive spectacle with 3 of the 4 belts at stake. But yeah, my first gut thought with Canelo versus William Scull, first of all, Canelo's like, his schedule over the past few fights has been a little bit frustrating. Again, William Scull, not a bad fighter. he really doesn't have business in the ring with Canelo, even with that win over Vladimir Shishkin. But I would rather Canelo fight William Scull than, I mean, they were even trotting out the name Bruno Sirach, the guy who knocked out Jaime Munguia. I would rather Canelo versus William Scull than Canelo versus Bruno Sirach. And they were also mentioning Jermall Charlo, which, I mean, Jermall Charlo needs to fight like a Demetrius Andrade or just a tune-up. Like Jermall Charlo, like I have very little confidence in his career going forward. He's just been very inactive for like the last 4 out of 5 years. It's been a ton of inactivity. And he didn't look that great in his one fight of the past 3 to 4 years. That one fight against Jose Benavidez Jr., who was once a welterweight, who was then a 154 guy for just a moment against Danny Garcia, who's not even a 154 guy. And then Jose Benavidez goes up and fights Jermall Charlo slightly above 160. So no, I don't like Jermall Charlo's chances against most elite or near elite guys. So, I mean, like if Andrade was going to fight Jermall right now, I would probably favor Andrade. Might not have always been the case. I might have favored Jermall Charlo once upon a time. But yeah, I'm glad it's not Jermall Charlo. I'm glad it's not Bruno Sirach. No, it's not a great opponent in William Scull, but it is something, you know? And like, again, with Canelo's recent schedule, ever since the Bivol fight, everything from the trilogy fight with the 40-year-old Triple G to John Ryder to a 154 undisputed champion in Jermall Charlo, like that would have been an attractive fight like 6 to 8 years ago, something like that. But then fighting, you know, Jaime Munguia, again, not a bad fighter, or Edgar Berlanga. And it wouldn't be so frustrating if he also at some point fought the guy that everybody, who in the boxing community does not want to see or has not wanted to see Canelo versus David Benavidez. Even though Benavidez, I don't think he'll ever be a 168 guy again. He's now fought twice at 175. So I don't expect him to go back down. I don't expect Canelo to fight Benavidez at 175 light heavyweight. But yeah, like it's just been super frustrating to see Canelo kind of do the dance and do everything that he can to not fight David Benavidez. And that's just what it's been looking like for the past few years now. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on Canelo choosing to fight William Scull and then presumably then fighting Terence Crawford in September. I don't give Crawford a great chance, but we're going to get into that in another conversation. A year to 2 years ago, I thought Crawford might have a legit shot. And it's not just because I saw Crawford versus Madrimov that makes me think that he doesn't, but it's a lot of what makes Canelo tick. One of those things being an indestructible chin, at least over the past several years. Canelo's got a special, historically durable chin. I don't see a 37, 38, year old Terence Crawford outboxing him without getting beaten up at some point to the body up top by Canelo. Like, that's just at least kind of where I'm headed right now. And in terms of Canelo versus William Scull, I think Canelo wins, but by decision. Canelo's been winning a lot of fights by decision lately. Like, Canelo hasn't stopped anybody since beating Caleb Plant towards the end of 2021. I also want to make a quick mention before we head out. I would recommend everybody look at Turki Al-Ashik's recent interview with Mike Coppinger. He basically stated that he put the false information about Canelo versus Crawford being off. He gave his own publication, Ring Magazine, false information to then report on, while he then works on tidying up the deals with Canelo. 4-fight deal Canelo has with Riyadh Season, 4-fight deal. And he did also say in that same interview that he would like to put Canelo in there with David Benavidez. Fingers crossed. I mean, if anybody could do it, Turki Al-Ashik could do it. But I just found it very interesting and rather transparent that Turki Al-Ashik admitted that he put fake information out there for the purposes of then being able to get let them run with that while I actually work on the deal. And then you see Jake Paul coming out when Canelo versus Paul fell apart. There was something to that. And Turki Al-Ashik in that interview also said that he didn't match Jake Paul's offer. So Canelo's not going to make as much in this William Scull fight as he would have made fighting Jake Paul. But there were just a lot of revelations from Turki Al-Ashik that, again, are just refreshing. We know that promoters and managers and different, the powers that be in boxing make these clandestine behind the scenes moves. It was just refreshing to see Turki Al-Ashik say, yeah, this is what I did. This is why I did it. I kind of like that, actually. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.